Welcome to the Rines Report with your host, Tristan Blake Rines. All right, welcome back to the Rines Report here on YouTube. It's your host, Tristan Blake Rines. Thank you so much for joining us once again this week. I got special guest Sam Montana on the phone with me for the first couple of segments. Be sure to head on down to the description to find all the social media links. Give me a like, subscribe, share, blah, blah, do all that sort of stuff. And if you get the bell on, then, of course, you can be the first person updated whenever we drop a new video every week heading into your football weekend. Sam Montana joins us on the show right now. How's it going, Sam?
It's going all right. It's been a stressful week as a Patriots fan, but, can't really complain.
And, yeah, of course. So we're bringing you in, of course, Sam Montana, friend of the show, longtime co-host of mine as well. And let's just get right into this, man. The first thing we're going to talk about today, the Patriots accused of cheating. Now, to the audience out there, just so they understand, we are Patriots fans. We're not going to, pretend we aren't. We're not going to sugarcoat it in the sense of like, okay, well, I'm a Patriot. I'm a Patriots fan, but blah, blah, blah. Like, take everything we say your own way, I suppose. But we're going to try to be as objective as we can be on this. Okay. So your first impression, Sam, of everything here. Go ahead and spill it out there for me.
Well, to put it bluntly, it's a bunch of crap.
Yeah?
It's ridiculous. So I guess if you don't know what's happened, the accusation is that the Patriots had a camera crew up in the press box, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they were filming the Bengals sidelines. And so the Bengals talked to the camera crew, took the camera footage, turned it over to the NFL, and so now apparently we're just a bunch of cheaters, right? Just Spygate 2.0, same old story. Oh, they did it again. They've been doing it for the last 15 years. Except probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it looks like happened, this is what the Patriots are saying, and this is what the NFL is inclined to believe, apparently, if, NFL reports are to be believed, and I think that they are, is that this was a camera crew, a collection of private contractors that asked permission, go to a Browns-Bengals game, got permission from the Browns, went into the press box, and were filming a segment for Do Your Job, which is a documentary series that they've been doing now for years.
Mm-hmm.
And this specific short was going to be on the life of a scout, an NFL scout.
Yeah, an advanced scout, essentially. Yeah, so some of the Patriots send out there to, okay, this person's going to take a look, see what they're going up against next week, which happens to be the Cincinnati Bengals, like we've noted. And basically, the person in the press box who is there, the advanced scout, is not allowed to video, but he's allowed to take notes, or she is allowed to take notes and say, hey, look, like I think they're doing this signal, blah, blah. They're allowed to take these notes. They're allowed to do these things. They just can't videotape it. Like, they can relay said information. They can also say, hey, look, I see what they're doing in this formation, blah, blah, blah. So they're allowed to relay information.
Sidelines, though.
Yes.
And that's where this is where the problem occurs.
Mm-hmm.
So this crew, reports have been kind of mixed, but it looks like the crew that would usually have gone to this was busy filming the Chiefs-Patriots game that weekend, so they didn't go. So, Patriots organization, I need to point this out. There's the Patriots organization, then there's the team, and there's all sorts of other groups and entities underneath the umbrella of the organization.
Yeah, and
the organization hired this private camera crew to film this. Not private camera, private.
Well, this was contracted by the Kraft Group for the web series, like you said, Do Your Job, and basically, this person is essentially saying, okay, look, I didn't know the rules here. I'll just delete the footage, blah, blah. We'll just move on with this, pretend it never happened. And
the Bengals were like, no, we're going to turn this over to the NFL, and they're going to do an investigation, which they should have done.
Mm-hmm.
And they did.
Or they're in the middle
Patriots
of.
Were like, and the Patriots organization was like, no, oh, whoops. Like, yeah, these guys didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know the rules. They screwed up, and we'll take full responsibility for it. And so the NFL said, okay, we'll do an investigation. Looks like they've done it. Doesn't look like they found anything nefarious. And worst case, the Patriots will get a fine because the team had literally nothing to do with it at all. Bill Belichick does not get involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, people who are uninformed are just going to assume and connect the dots because, it's just easy that way, and, it's easy to paint the Patriots as villains. Look, I'm not denying that the Patriots have not had some sketchy events in the past. I'm not denying that Spygate didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not Spygate 2.0. This is not a big deal. This should not be treated like a big deal. And anybody that's giving this real, serious, I guess, what's the word? Giving the story fire.
Yeah.
Like actually making this a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They're just looking for an angle at that point. You are if you seriously think that this is a huge deal.
And look, the Patriots are cooperating with the NFL. They released a statement saying essentially this was a misunderstanding from someone who was contracted, like I said, by the Kraft Group, one of Robert Kraft's organizations. Essentially, they work in tandem kind of with the Patriots. They're the people that collect film for them to use for all sorts of web series. They create the Do Your Job series. Essentially anything you're going to find on the Patriots website or their YouTube channel, etc., is one of these. This is one of the crews that helps film for them. And like I said, this is because of this tie to the New England Patriots, and like you had mentioned, like 12 years ago, Spygate happened. The NFL is taking this very seriously, and I believe they should be. Now, the issue essentially is, okay, well, what it looks like is what we've both been saying here, which is, it seems like this guy probably didn't know what he was doing, obviously. Or I wouldn't even say obviously, but he probably didn't know what he was doing, getting B-roll of some sort, blah, blah. And, Bengals were like, hey, you can't be doing that. And he was like, I'll just delete it, blah, blah. And then we're here now. The Patriots have cooperated fully with the NFL from everything that we're seeing from reports all over sports media. And, yeah, essentially we're just waiting for the NFL and Roger Goodell to say, hey, look, this is the decision we came down to. But what it looks like to most people is, like we've both been saying here, is somebody just messed up. And, but because of this history, this is what we're talking about. Because Spygate did happen, right? And the Patriots have had these incidents, essentially, including Deflategate and anything of that realm, where they've had a sketchy past. So they're taking all these things into account, saying, "Hey, look." But I don't think the Patriots, considering how big of a thing that Spygate has been and has hung over this organization's head for so long, I don't think they'd be dumb enough to do this twice and to be this obvious about it. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, the one thing, before we get into the obvious stuff, I just want to point out, because people are like, oh, it was 8 minutes of filming the sideline. Why do you need 8 minutes? I'm sorry, but if you don't understand, if you don't understand that you need a ton of footage for documentaries or shorts, you don't know what you're talking about. You know how much B-roll you need? I've worked on documentaries before. I have made stuff before where you sit there and you think after like a minute or two, oh, I've got enough footage. I'll be fine. This is good enough. And then you go to the editing room and you're like, oh, shoot, I don't have enough footage. Mm-hmm. So anybody who's experienced in actually filming knows, no, it's probably a good idea to just set up the camera if you're trying to get shots and just collect data, the data you need, the footage you need for the next, sometimes 10 minutes, depending. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which this could end up being ridiculous. The case here. And, people, like I've said, the Patriots are very adamant about saying, hey, we're not, this has nothing to do with football operations. Bill Belichick has talked to a number of media organizations, said, look, this has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with what we do on a football operations standpoint. The only things that we see are essentially what gets put on the TV. Like, this has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with the coaching staff, the scouts, anything. Any of that nature. I think they're trying to be as clear as possible here and saying, look, and honest, because they're like, look, we know. We see and we understand the past here. But we're not trying to do this again. We're like I mentioned before. They're like, why would we do it this obvious if we're going to do it? And here's another thing. And anyone in the stands, opposing sideline, anywhere in the stadium, you can do exactly what the Patriots are being accused of with the cell phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you put somebody up in the press box in, I believe it was Bruins gear, Boston, Patriots gear and Bruins gear, blah, blah, blah.
At least one person was in Patriots gear, and I think the scout was in Bruins gear.
Something like that. Why would you make it this obvious, right? Like, if this ends up, let's say this is the case, right? Let's say this entire thing is the Patriots were there to get this footage, to give it blah, blah, blah. Like, let's say this is the worst case scenario here. Like, how dumb do you have to be to do it this way? You know what I mean?
100%. And I need to dispel something right now because I'm sure there are people watching this and being like, oh, well, if they've done it to the Bengals. It's like, they're not doing it to the Bengals, okay? The Patriots don't need additional information on the Bengals. And this idea that, oh, well, maybe they've been doing it to other teams. No, because how would they have gotten away with it? The only reason they were in the press box is because they were going to follow the scout for that one particular week, and they had to call in advance and get permission from the Browns.
Yeah, the Browns cleared this crew.
Every week, they have not been going every week doing this with the scout. This is the one time. So let's just assume for a minute that this is a cheating scandal. Would Bill Belichick say to the crew, okay, well, we get one shot at getting film on a team this year because we can only use the scouting excuse once. What team do we want to use the excuse on? The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Texans, the Colts? No, let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Are you kidding me? Of all the teams for Bill Belichick to feel like he needs a competitive advantage against, you think he's going to go and get one against the Bengals over Andy Reid's Chiefs? Are you kidding me? And you really think they would show up in Patriots gear?
Yeah.
And when they got caught, think Bill Belichick would tell them, hey, when you get caught, just ask if you can delete the footage. Just ask to delete the footage because that'll look really smart and well. Yeah. This idea that, like, Bill Belichick is not this stupid, okay? If he was going to cheat and do this, he would go about it a lot smarter than this, okay? This would be really sloppy cheating. This is the kind of thing like... This is not the kind of thing this organization would do. It's just not the kind of thing this organization would do. It's sloppy.
Yeah. At the end of what it seems like, we won't know exactly until the NFL's done and said their piece and blah, blah. We understand that. And there's still things that seem to be coming out, but I feel like everything that needs to have been, given to the NFL has been given to the NFL. Everything that's going to be said has been said. What it seems like, from both of our standpoints, is an unintentional violation, and essentially, even if you're gonna throw anything at the Patriots, it shouldn't be anything more than a minor fine. Because, well, 100%. Look, this has nothing to do with on the field activity. It has nothing to do with what's going to influence the game. It's just someone who screwed up. And if you want to throw the hammer down on someone, like, this has nothing to do with anything that happens on the field.
No, the organization should be punished because it's still sloppy negligence, but it's not cheating.
Yeah.
It's different. It's not cheating.
Yeah. This would be like if you're in the line of the grocery store and you reach into the person in front of you's like wallet or whatever, like their purse or something like that. Take the money and go, hey, look, I took your money, and then like, oh, but I can just give it back to you and it's fine, right? Like, no. That's how this works. Like, how dumb would you have to be to do that? Yeah, it's the Patriots. This is the Patriots, but they're not that dumb.
They're not that dumb.
Yeah,
they're not that desperate either. Like,
no,
calm down.
They've had a couple rough weeks on offense, but if they got to do this against the Bengals, like, oh my goodness.
Look, the reality is that because we've had issues in the past, if you believe the Patriots were cheaters before, this is just going to have fuel to the fire. Nothing here is going to make you sway you, right?
Yeah.
If you really want to believe the Patriots are cheaters, then fine. That's your decision. If you really think this is an issue, then fine. Mm-hmm. I don't believe this is an issue. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of the issues that the Patriots have been accused of have been real issues. I mean, there have been way bigger scandals in the NFL's history than anything the Patriots have been accused of that had way worse consequences. I mean, Bountygate? Seriously? We're going to talk about Spygate and Deflategate and, I guess, what do you call this, Scoutgate or Bengalgate? When something like Bountygate happened that no one talks about anymore. No one talks about the Saints being cheaters. Mm-hmm. Or cheaters and violent.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of other scandals dating back in the game where this is nothing.
Like, we could talk about those more, but we don't have enough time to keep talking about it, but we need to move on to something else here. We're going to keep things towards the Patriots, though. Patriots, essentially, we're going to talk about that Sunday football game. We're going to talk about that 4 o'clock window game against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Patriots, essentially, again, Patriots fans saying this, got robbed. The officials killed the Patriots' chances of winning the game twice. 2 touchdowns essentially wiped off the board. The first coming on a terrible whistle on a fumbled football by Travis Kelce that was recovered by Stephon Gilmore with essentially no one in front of him to score a touchdown. Running on the field, they blow the whistle. He's like 20 yards from the end zone. And then later, upon multiple replays that we see as fans, but the officials decided not to, N'Keal Harry diving into the end zone for another touchdown. That's 14 points of a difference that could have made, could have won or lost this game, obviously, for the Kansas City Chiefs or the New England Patriots. Officials this season, we can both agree on this, and most NFL fans probably can, have been noticeably bad. I can't remember, since the replacement referees, I can't remember seeing this many controversies about NFL referees, during any given point during the season. Am I mistaken on that? Outside of last year's NFC Championship game with that one call, I can't remember a ton from last season, really outside of that really have been that bad.
Yeah, no, but I don't really care anymore, because the thing is, when it happens to us, everyone just laughs and says, well, you guys deserve it because you've had calls go your way in the past, so we don't really care that the refs are doing a really bad job. And it's like, oh, okay, well, fine. When next time a call goes really bad against your team, I'm not going to care. I'm just going to be like, whatever, right? I mean, everybody was all up in arms about the Saints call. If that call had been on the Patriots, no one would have cared. Everybody would have laughed and like, yeah, they didn't deserve to go, or they've had calls go for them in the past. I mean, this was as egregious an officiating game as I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. This is top 5 of all time. In my mind, this was really bad.
This has been bad enough that the NFL has had to address multiple missed calls this season, wrong calls that have determined outcomes of games. This wasn't even the only horrible call that happened on Sunday, apparently. Former Patriot assistant Brian Flores, who's now head coaching the Miami Dolphins, had a tight game against the Jets, nearly cussed out officials on a terrible pass interference. What was it? I want to say he threw a challenge flag that got denied or something that was very clearly pass interference. I brought up officials around week 6 or 7, Monday Night Football, Green Bay and Detroit. The Trey Flowers calls twice on that final drive that set up Green Bay for a field goal that they won, and ever since then the Lions have failed to win games. Officials are showing us, outside of even just terrible, generally bad calls or laziness, officials are showing us a lot of stubbornness this year with a lack of overturns to what look to most people, and even people. They have the NFL referee analysts up in these booths now. They're like, that looks like pass interference to me. Let's send it back down to the field, see what they say. And they're like, well, it's not pass interference. What? Officials, once again, were saying need to be better. Boston Globe reported the NFL is planning a top-down review of officials this offseason. I mean, John Perry, former NFL official for multiple Super Bowls, ESPN referee analyst, is saying there needs to be a change. I mean, what steps can be taken here to make NFL officiating better? Because it's slowing the game down. It's making the game worse, right? I can't be the only person thinking this. This isn't even just a Patriots issue.
It's just bad officiating. Honestly, they need to go back. They're doing the right thing. They're going to clean out their closet. They're going to look at stats. They're going to look at who's throwing flags. They're going to look at the calls, and they're going to fire people, and they're going to replace them because it's ridiculous. I mean, just to talk about this game for a minute. It's not like it's just, pass interference is one of those things where I can understand somebody getting a pass interference call wrong. Mm-hmm. I get it, right? Sometimes it's kind of subjective. It is. But a fumble and a fumble recovery, and you're going to blow the whistle? Last I checked, you guys have been told in the offseason to let plays go to the end because you can always overturn them. But once you blow that whistle, it's dead.
Yeah.
The fact that the ball might have been fumbled and they didn't just let Gilmore run into the end zone and then say the previous play is under review is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That just cost us 6 points in a really close game where we really needed the momentum shift.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fine. We'll just go on to the next play. We got this. We got this. Oh, we scored a touchdown. Great. Oh, except we didn't.
Yeah.
Except we did.
And then N'Keal Harry is another one. Is another big example of that.
There's an inch of grass between his foot and the sideline.
There's enough grass there.
You get that wrong.
Yeah, there's enough grass there you can see how green it is. And let's say the official, essentially all the official needed to say was, you know what, that might have been a touchdown. Let me throw the arms up because, like you had said previously, everything's reviewable, right? If there's a play, it's a turnover or a score, they review it, right? But it's like, no. Yeah. So with Jerome Boger, they had interviewed him after the game, and we only have a few more moments to talk about this. They interviewed him after the game, and he was like, well, we didn't feel like it was necessary to go to replay because I walked over to those officials, and they conferred, and they both determined, even though they were a little skeptical, although I'm basically putting some words in his mouth, that they weren't sure he scored a touchdown, so they didn't want to call it a touchdown. And then we didn't want to review it because So it's like that entire explanation. The entire explanation just felt lazy. It was like, well, we didn't want to review it because we didn't review it, and we wanted to be stubborn. And we're seeing it's things like this that are just ruining games on Sundays.
Well, the most annoying thing is, so Bill Belichick throws the challenge flag because he doesn't think that they got the first down earlier in the game. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Honestly, that's a pretty close call. They decided not to overturn it. Fine, whatever, right? But then Bill had to use a challenge on the fumble play.
Yeah, which they shouldn't have blown dead and could have been reviewable regardless.
He shouldn't have had to have done it, but he had to. Yeah. He had to throw the flag there. He had to. And so now the N'Keal Harry play comes along, and we can't challenge because we don't have any challenges anymore because the refs couldn't do their job 2 times.
Yeah.
And it cost us the game. So now we're 10-3 when we should be 11-2. I don't care what anybody says. We probably would have won that game in overtime. And now here we are.
Or in regulation.
And it's really frustrating.
Yeah. But that's all the time we have for this right now. We really appreciate you coming on the show, Sam. Once again, you'll be joining us again in the future, I'm sure. The postseason's coming up here shortly. Any departing words before we let you go?
Well, we play the Bengals this weekend, so that game just got a heck of a lot more interesting. I hope we put up 45 on them, and I hope that we make a Super Bowl run because I'm really tired of all the hate I'm seeing online for the Patriots this season. It's been really ridiculous. And if you think the king is dead, he's not dead till he's dead. All right? There's still a lot of football left to be played. It's not over yet.
Well, we appreciate you coming on once again, Sam. Of course, you can find Sam. Any social media links you want to plug real fast before we get out of here?
No, not really, honestly.
Okay, it's fine.
Keep watching this show.
Just
does a good job.
Keep watching the show. Appreciate it, Sam. And we'll have you on in the future. And stick around. We're going to talk about Odell Beckham in just a moment. So let's move into our next segment. Odell Beckham Jr. saying, "Come and get me." All right, this is a news story that's been kind of buried between most recent news, obviously, like we talked about previously. But Odell Beckham Jr. displeased in Cleveland for a number of reasons. Offense has no major chemistry, losing games against much less talented groups, talented squads. The coaching has been terrible. It's been lackluster this entire season, and the remarks were apparently made in October. So this is being reported. We're almost the midway point of December now, but this was made back in October. Teams they played against in October: San Francisco, Seattle, New England. He seems very, very fond of Tom Brady. Even brought him some signature cleats, made it a goat hair, the whole shebang, right? The Odell Beckham saying, like, "Hey, I really want to play with you. You're my guy. You're the GOAT. You're the best." Like, he brought him all sorts of cool stuff, right? And right in front of Baker Mayfield too. If you've seen that, look up the Baker Mayfield picture. It's hard to miss. Hilarious stuff. San Francisco since then has brought in Emmanuel Sanders in a big trade with the Denver Broncos. Seattle brought in Josh Gordon, brought him off of waivers from New England. And New England brought in Mohamed Sanu, who is on contract through next season as well still. New England's offense has been struggling and inconsistent. They've made some inquiries about Odell Beckham Jr. before, from what we understand, during the days when he was still a New York Giant, looking to get traded from the Giants. Ended up in Cleveland with his buddy Jarvis Landry. But I guess everything isn't working the way that he had hoped so. One of the most talented wide receivers in the game, career stat-wise, 449 receptions, 6,320 yards, 46 touchdowns. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and he was the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2014. Now, let's run through the scenario of if he would have went to any of those 3 teams, right? So let's start off with San Francisco. They've got a good young group of wide receivers, it seems. Deebo Samuel, Pettis, Sanders as well, a good veteran presence in that locker room. Kendrick Bourne, I believe, is making some big plays on Sundays, as well as George Kittle at the tight end spot. They've got Juszczyk, excuse me. It's pronounced funny. It's one of those weird names. But this offense is also very predicated on the running game. But I wouldn't be shocked if, or Odell Beckham Jr. this offseason, let's say the Cleveland Browns do trade him. They can't find a reason to say, hey, look, stay with us. We want to keep you in the organization. We feel like we have something good here. But, if these rumors are coming out in the middle of this season, he got traded there this offseason in a scenario that you would imagine would be ideal for Odell Beckham Jr., given the chemistry from the team. Lots of talent, like I said. A good general manager in John Dorsey. Ownership seems pretty committed, but when it comes from the coaching standpoint, he doesn't seem to mesh well with Freddie Kitchens. He doesn't seem to be on the same wavelength as Baker Mayfield. Seems very frustrated, as well as playing through injury like a bothersome hernia, something like that. Odell Beckham does not seem happy in Cleveland, right? So let's say he goes to San Francisco. I think he could shine. And honestly, any three of these organizations, San Francisco shining brightly this season so far, and giving Jimmy Garoppolo, who has shown great promise, another big weapon alongside Emmanuel Sanders and all the other receivers that I named, along with Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman in the backfield, among probably some other names I'm forgetting, and a good defense. This would be a ridiculous San Francisco 49ers team. Let's take a look at what it would be like if he was in Seattle. Now, Seattle, I feel like he could end up being the odd man out depending on the Josh Gordon situation. Now, Josh Gordon going into free agency this year will be, as far as I understand, an unrestricted free agent. Hasn't had a lot of time to mesh into the Seattle system, and it doesn't seem like it's working exactly the way Seattle thought, but he is still drawing attention. He is still drawing coverage, and defenses have to take him seriously. He's a big play threat, super talented wide receiver, one of the best talents in the NFL. Now, alongside Josh Gordon, they also have, of course, Tyler Lockett, who stretches the field, Chris Carson in the backfield, and, of course, DK Metcalf, the rookie from Ole Miss this season, is proving to be a solid addition to the Seattle team. Russell Wilson having an MVP caliber season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking at that squad and saying, hey, look, Russ is playing good football. Russ is playing great football. He's in his prime years. Pete Carroll, it seems like a fun environment, and guys don't typically want to leave Seattle. They want to stay in Seattle, and they enjoy being in the organization. I wouldn't be shocked if he's looking at Seattle as, hey, look, this team could probably go to a Super Bowl in the next couple of seasons if they don't even make it this year. Very competitive. I got to play against Patrick Peterson, Richard Sherman, and Jalen Ramsey, 6 times during the season. Some good competition, but, sometimes these receivers are fickle. Maybe he doesn't want to necessarily go against the toughest guys, but as a competitor, who wouldn't want to play against these type of guys, right? And then finally, let's take a look at what it would be like in New England. Like I had mentioned previously, and like I've said for the last, what it feels like 3 weeks, this New England offense has been struggling immensely. Mohamed Sanu hasn't quite been the weapon they want. N'Keal Harry, they're still trying to figure out how to work these guys into the offense. Jacoby Myers, an undrafted free agent, is giving as much of himself as he can to this offense, and it doesn't seem to be quite panning out the way they're hoping. Tom Brady has shown his frustrations. At one point, this team had Odell Beckham Jr. and Josh Gordon and Edelman all at the same on the field at the same time, and with recent news, even today, this will air Thursday. So yesterday, I'm recording these on Wednesdays. I mean, things get jumbled. Antonio Brown does not seem like he's likely to get back into the NFL, especially not happening in New England. They've said it multiple times. But we've seen what this offense can look like with those kind of weapons. And I think adding an Odell Beckham to a Tom Brady who's going to be 43 next season, let's say they do keep him. I mean, there's speculation he could be leaving this offseason. Josh McDaniels possibly leaving this offseason as well. New England's in a really, really weird place, as we said in the previous segments. But let's say they do keep McDaniels. Let's say they do keep Tom Brady. And let's say a lot of these guys return. Like Edelman could return for another season. And Mohamed Sanu is going to be back for the next season of his contract unless the Patriots decide to cut him. As well as guys like Philip Dorsett and, run down the list. I think this offense would be really dangerous to play against because you take Odell Beckham, who probably runs the best slant in the game, who can also stretch the field, makes big plays, has highlight hands. This team would be scary to watch. I think New England once again be one of the favorites in the Super Bowl race. The AFC has shown that it's got some competition. There's some good teams in the AFC, but imagine, it doesn't seem to me like Tom Brady's losing a lot of steps, even going into his, 22nd season of the NFL will be next year. I wouldn't be surprised if this team ends up with Odell Beckham. That seems to be somewhat of the rumor that he would go there, and essentially this team would be scary and dangerous with an Odell Beckham on the squad. We've seen that he can even throw the football. You know how New England likes to use those really versatile, weird trick plays, yada, yada, yada. This offense, New England Patriots, I think they'd be willing to open up the checkbook. I wouldn't be shocked to see if the New England Patriots pulled out all the stops to go get Odell Beckham, considering this season's offensive struggles, considering how much respect he has for Tom Brady. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. And Odell Beckham, who knows? I mean, the odds of him even leaving Cleveland, he's still got like 3 years left on that deal. He originally signed with the Giants. I would be really shocked, even still, if they did trade him anywhere. This is any of the other teams in the NFL, any of the 31 teams in the league, including San Fran, Seattle, and New England. It could be the LA Rams. It could be anyone. I don't think he's going back to the Giants, so we'll say it's at least 30 teams. I would be shocked if the Cleveland Browns did so. I think what would happen first in this trickle down would have to be Odell Beckham. I'm not sure if Freddie Kitchens is going to return for another season, right? So I've said that last week during the coaching carousel segment sort of thing. I wouldn't be shocked if Freddie Kitchens is no longer there, which means it's a whole new offense. But if the new head coach could inspire Odell Beckham to stay and say, hey, look, we are going to incorporate you heavily this year. You're not going to get, just 35 catches, blah, blah, blah. Those aren't even his numbers. I'm just spitballing here. But if the new coaching comes in and can inspire Odell to say, hey, look, I'm going to play for you. You are my guy. This would be an interesting development. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. Now, will it happen? Who knows? I'm not going to say it's a 50-50. I'm not going to say any kind of percentages. But Odell Beckham possibly not going to be a Cleveland Brown next season after only a year stint. Who knows, man? This is a complicated individual as well. So keep your eyes on this. I'm sure it'll develop. The closer we get to the offseason, the further through the playoffs we get, the more we will actually be hearing about this. Now, let's move on to our reoccurring segment of the week, Contenders and Pretenders. We got our lineup, Contenders and Pretenders now. We got our power rankings. We got our picks, fantasy sit or start kind of thing. But let's start with our Contenders and Pretenders this week. I'm going to start with my Pretender of the week. I'm going to get some pushback from this. I got a few fans of this squad watching the podcast weekly. If you're making it this far, thank you so much. But also, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you didn't think I was going to go here, you should be surprised. The Philadelphia Eagles, even after winning this past week against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football, are my Pretender of the week. They are below 500 sitting at 6-7, and they're somehow still on the hunt for a playoff spot. Albeit they'd have to win the division, but they're somehow involved in a playoff race at a 6-7 clip under 500. Team has a terrible wide receiving core. Injury plagued all season across all levels, it seems. Nelson Aguilar can't seem to stay healthy. Alshon Jeffrey got hurt in Monday Night Football. Deshaun Jackson played 20 snaps, not even, for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was out for the remainder of the season. Carson Wentz does not look confident in this offense. Wide receivers, like I said, or the management, there's a statue of his backup quarterback outside of the stadium, and how do you remain confident when parts of the league and the fan base that you play for said at points, maybe you should be the guy that's in Jacksonville right now. Maybe we want to keep Nick Foles because Philly's special and we've won our first Super Bowl in franchise history, 53 years in the making, blah, 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 blah. If Nick Foles this, Nick Foles that. So, all that being said, as well as all these injuries, and his only reliable target seems to be Zach Ertz. Philly fans, I feel bad for you guys, man. Some weird management. They love to talk, Eagles fans love talking about how, management's great. We got all these really cool contracts and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But they don't seem to have, given the keys to the franchise to their starting quarterback. I understand he got hurt a couple times, but goodness, the guy's got a ton of talent. The best wide receiver right now is Boston Scott. Jordan Howard's been hurt as well, as if this offense didn't need any more injuries. Jason Peters, every time I watch an Eagles game, seems to be going out of the game for some reason, and he's old. Barely beat a 2-10 New York Giants team with Eli Manning at home in overtime. Now, all due respect to Eli Manning, I think he's an eventual Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a first ballot. That's a whole conversation for another time. We'll probably talk about it at some point in the future. The secondary is one of the worst in the NFL, ranked number 32 versus the pass. In a passing league. You're not playing teams understand that the Giants got a good running back, and everybody in your division seems to have some solid backfields, but even still, come on. You're not playing just your division every season. The run stopping has been hit or miss as well all season. They're ranked number 27th in the NFL right now. And if this team makes the playoffs, this is an early exit team. Like I said, injuries everywhere. Coaching at the end of the day too. I mean, Peterson's a Super Bowl winning coach, and the amount of confidence I have in this staff is not very high. Eagles fans, they shouldn't be very high. They've had some big losses. They've played some big teams as well, but at the same time, like, you want to be a playoff contender, I can't take you seriously if you're going to make the playoffs at 7-9. The remaining schedule is easy, I will say. They got Washington this week. That should be a win. They've got Dallas after that at home. Who knows? Because Dallas is just as dysfunctional. They could very well be here in the pretender spot once again this season. That's a win or lose game. And then you got the Giants at the end of the season in New York. That should be a win, but who knows? There's so much unreliability in this entire division, the NFC East, that I can't even say for any certainty the Eagles are going to beat for sure any of these teams. The only one I'm confident in saying they're going to beat are the Washington Redskins. They should beat the Giants. They probably should beat the Cowboys as well, considering play from the other side of the ball. But there's no confidence here. Book it. The Philadelphia Eagles, pretender. They make the playoffs, pretender. Haven't even sniffed my top 10, pretender. Goodness. Eagles fans, if I'm saying anything that's untrue, let me know down in the comments section. Because I don't feel like there's anything I'm saying that's unfactual. Contender of the week. Now, as a Patriots fan, we've been in the news a lot lately, but the contender of the week is not the New England Patriots. It is the team that beat them on Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs, sitting at 9-4 on the season. Refs are not. The Chiefs got a big win in New England on Sunday, even with the equipment being sent to New Jersey and somebody messing up with their equipment staff and them having to hurry it from New Jersey on another flight just to get to Foxborough, to New England, to the stadium. You saw all sorts of coverage on CBS that day of them wheeling it into the actual stadium. But don't worry, they were good. They were good to go by game time. Mahomes started a little bumpy in that game, but has started to stabilize and looked good since returning from his injury. They have a good groove. They're stretching the field. Tyreek Hill, as long as he's staying healthy, this offense is good. He made a few big plays on Sunday. The Patriots didn't do enough to neutralize him entirely. I don't think he had a big day by any means, but Mecole Hardman was a great addition. Robinson had a few catches as well, if I'm not mistaken. Travis Kelce did Travis Kelce things, and he tore up the Patriots defense. Patrick Mahomes is the reigning MVP. Had a really good day. Really good. For Mahomes, really good is different. He had a good day. He had a pretty good day. And this defense has gotten a little bit better with Tyrann Mathieu back there. Juan Thornhill was a pretty big addition for them in the third round coming out of UVA. He's made some solid plays. I saw him on the TV a lot on Sunday. Frank Clark was another good addition. Chris Jones making good plays. Derek Nottie as well. They've got some good players on the defense. I'm not saying that this defense is an elite tier defense, but they're good enough to make a few plays to at least keep you in the game. Andy Reid has gotten this offense some of its swagger back. Like I said, they were bumpy at certain points. When Mahomes was hurt, they seemed like a bumpy offense, but they won a couple games with Matt Moore at quarterback. The remaining schedule, they should win every game. They got Denver at home, in Chicago, and then versus the LA Chargers at home. The Chargers always give them some trouble, but they shouldn't lose to the Chargers at home. They're a good squad. I like what they're doing right now, and they're gonna, as long as they continue to roll and have this confidence, they could possibly, considering how inconsistent the Patriots have been, they could possibly jump the Patriots and force the Patriots to play wild card weekend. The Bills, if they get a key win over the Patriots, who knows? So the AFC playoff race outside of the number one spot, which seems to be locked up by Baltimore, is kind of up for grabs, and the Kansas City Chiefs are looking to get that first week bye. Looking to get that first round bye in the playoffs. And as long as they keep winning, they're setting themselves up for success. The Patriots, their biggest remaining game this season is against Buffalo at home. Maybe they've worked out those offensive kinks. They got Cincinnati coming up this Sunday. But who knows, man? The Chiefs, keep an eye on them. They got the tiebreaker over New England. Who knows? I wouldn't be shocked here if the Kansas City Chiefs they're already a playoff contender in my mind. They are. We haven't talked a lot about them considering that they've got, Patrick Mahomes. Everybody loves Patty Mahomes. I like Patty Mahomes. He's on my fantasy team. But I feel like as far as the NFL media is concerned, there's not a lot of talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, and there should be. This team is picking it up a little bit. The Tennessee Titans are another team, talking about them a little bit more. They're picking up wins. Ryan Tannehill playing good football. Patty Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Juan Thornhill, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, Derek Nottie, Chris Jones. They're all playing good football. Secondary's gotten better. This defense has gotten better. Year to year, you see those improvements. This team has gotten better. They've just had some injuries, but they seem to be healthy at the right time. I wouldn't be shocked if this Kansas City Chiefs team, which has been a heel in the side of the Baltimore Ravens these past couple of years, Ravens fans know exactly what I'm talking about. I wouldn't be shocked if this Kansas City Chiefs team makes a big push to the Super Bowl this year. Super Bowl or bust, baby. That's what they're talking about. How about those Chiefs, right? Okay, let's move on to some of our final segments of the show, of the week, power rankings. Everybody loves power rankings, so let's move right into it. We're going 10-1, but you probably got a good idea of who my number one team is. But we're gonna build the suspense anyway, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with me; it's gonna be worth it. Number 10 on the list of power rankings, the Minnesota Vikings at 9-4. They're playing good football. I feel like I say this every week, but they never broke my top 5 because there's just so many good teams this year. Minnesota, Dalvin Cook's playing well. Kirk Cousins playing really good football. They just smoked the Detroit Lions, which isn't saying much, but even still, when you force a team to one touchdown the entire game in the NFL, props to you. Minnesota Vikings, number 10 on the power rankings this season. Number 9, the Houston Texans. 8-5, a rough loss to the Denver Broncos this past week. Drops them down on the list, but I'm not going to say they're out, obviously. They're 8-5. They're still leading the AFC South. They're a good team, and DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson, you can't really quit on that offense. Bill O'Brien's coaching as best as he possibly can this year, but losing to the Denver Broncos, who are not making the playoffs this year, really hurts. Really, really hurts. But number 9, I feel like is a good spot for the Houston Texans. Number 8, the Buffalo Bills at 9-4. The first time they moved out of the 10 spot, they've moved up on my list. They are 9-4 on the season. A rough loss to Baltimore, but they hung in there. I was watching the game with Ravens fans. They hung in there, and they played well considering the opponent. Buffalo, solid team. They have a chance to win the division. If New England drops 2 games and Buffalo sweeps the rest of the season, they could win that division, which is crazy. A big matchup against New England in a couple of weeks. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. And, of course, number 7, the next team on my list are the New England Patriots. Now, as a Patriots fan, we talked about them a lot on the show today, but they're 10-3 with some rough losses back-to-back. Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs, 2 good teams, both on the list, but this offense has been struggling. New England, though, they could very well be higher. The referees, we talked about this earlier in the show, kind of screwed the Patriots. All right, I'm just going to leave it at that. We talked enough about the Patriots on today's show. I feel like I've done a solid justice to at least say the Patriots are good, the offense needs to get better, the defense is legit. Special teams, best in the NFL, right? All right, good enough. We covered the Patriots. Number 6, big win against the Patriots on Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs, 9-4. They didn't score more than 3 points in that second half of the game, but I attribute that a lot to New England's good defense. Kansas City, when they get hot. They can strike quick. So I like what Kansas City's doing. Their offense is solid. Tyreek Hill, as long as he is healthy, they're going to be playing good football. Patty Mahomes, defending MVP, as long as he feels comfy. Travis Kelce, they've got a lot of things going for them. Kansas City's defense could still get better, but they're playing solid, good football as we speak. The Green Bay Packers are at number 5, 10-3. Solid win against Washington. I wouldn't say there's anything special about it, but the Green Bay Packers in general are playing good football across the board. Devontae Adams being back on the field has helped Aaron Rodgers, has helped the other receivers. This team looks good. They're going to be a solid contender come playoff time. Seattle Seahawks, 10-3. Russell Wilson, need I say more? They got a good offense. I talked about them earlier in the show. And, of course, Jadeveon Clowney, the defense is good. They did have a bad loss on Sunday Night Football, but, everybody has at least one game during the season that they just drop because it happens, right? The Rams are getting better, but they might not even make the playoffs. So I'm going to put the Seahawks right at 4. I feel like that's a good spot. We'll call that loss. They gave an effort out there, but we'll just call that loss one of those kind of fluky division games where your division opponent just happens to play really hard because they know that's one of the last times we'll see him, blah, 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 trying to prove themselves. The Rams trying to get back into the groove, but the Seahawks are at number 4. Number 3, the New Orleans Saints, 10-3 on the season. Rough loss to the San Francisco 49ers at home. Stuff happens sometimes. I want to say there's a bad call on that game too. The New Orleans Saints can't seem to beat the officials. But you can't also expect to beat a team when you allow them to score almost 50 points. So, number 2, the San Francisco 49ers put up a ton of points. Jimmy Garoppolo looks really, really good. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what this team does moving forward. The defense looks good, but they also let up over 40 points to the New Orleans Saints. The defense is going to have to buckle back down. You can't let teams score that much points on you. But New Orleans seems fitting at number 2. And, of course, the Baltimore Ravens. I'll say it once. I'll say it again. I'll say it a million times. At least right now I will. The Baltimore Ravens, I hope they don't become the Toronto Maple Leafs of the NFL because they are going to win the NFL regular season the way it's going. Hopefully they just don't have a division round exit on the board. So they've already won their division. Saints have won their division. Seattle and San Fran are back and forthing it. So rough times. Green Bay looks slated to win that division. Minnesota will do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't happen. New England seems like they're going to be leading that division into the playoffs. Buffalo Bills are going to make it. The Houston Texans are a couple games away from just wrapping it up, unless the Tennessee Titans have something to say about it. So, let's move on to the fantasy starter sits of the week. Let's start with our starters of the week. Kenny Golladay, number 32, ranked passing defense against Tampa. No Marvin Jones either. Blau. Derek Blau. I don't care if it's Matthew Stafford. I don't know who they're playing, who their quarterback is. Kenny Golladay is the real deal. I expect him to have at least a touchdown against Tampa, probably 100 yards. I think he caps out at about 3 touchdowns against Tampa if he has a really, really good day. Player of the week kind of stuff. Ryan Tannehill, start him against Houston. He has their defenses ranked number 27 against the pass. Tannehill's playing definitely hot. The stock is rising on Ryan Tannehill. It's playoff times, baby, in fantasy football. If you haven't already, go ahead, pick up my boy. I just like what Tannehill's doing. Considering he's no longer a Miami Dolphin, I like seeing him shine at a different team. A lot of good players on that Tennessee Titans team as well. But Ryan Tannehill is trying his very, very best to will this team to the playoffs. All he needs is the Pittsburgh Steelers to drop like one game, and they're right in that race. But Tennessee just needs to keep winning. And then finally, James White versus the number 26 ranked Cincinnati Bengals. Sony Michel has not been working effectively. Every time James White gets his hand on the ball, he seems to be picking up yards. I think New England's starting to realize that. Josh McDaniels is saying we need to get more guys involved. We need to get guys like N'Keal Harry involved, Jacoby Myers, and I think that's also going to include James White. Pick him up if you need to start him this week. You're in a fantasy playoff. Go ahead and start James White at your flex guy. I have strong feeling he's gonna have a good game. Time for your sits of the week. Le'Veon Bell versus the number 4 ranked Baltimore defense. The Jets offense is going to be uninspiring against Baltimore. I don't think they're going to put up more than like 14 points. Le'Veon Bell will not have a big day. I'm not expecting him to perform well, although it's an old division rival that he used to play against in the Steeler days. Who knows? But I think John Harbaugh is going to have plenty of film on Le'Veon to say, hey, look, all you guys got to do is do this A, B, C, and D, or just A and B, and they'll shut him down. Devontae Freeman versus the number 2 ranked San Francisco rush defense. Don't expect Devontae. I know he had a big week this past Sunday. Do not expect him to shine against San Fran, who just let up over 40 points. I'm sure Robert Saleh is very upset about that. They're missing a couple people, but don't expect San Fran to just let Devontae run all over them. Sit him. Allen Robinson, my final sit of the week against the number 7 Green Bay secondary. They have a lot of talent out there in the secondary. Don't expect Allen Robinson to get a lot of looks. I think Mitch Trubisky regresses back into the Mitch Trubisky we've seen for most of the season. Don't expect big things. Book that. Now, the final segment of the show, the final segment of this week, we got picks, baby. Thursday Night Football tonight. This one is not even going to be close. The New York Jets at the Baltimore Ravens. If you got anybody on the Jets, do not start them. You got somebody you really need to win in the fantasy playoffs. I hope it wasn't because the Jets got you there. The Baltimore Ravens are going to stomp all over the Jets, even though I'm kind of hoping that they don't. Sunday, the 1 o'clock window, Tampa at Detroit. Detroit, I think Kenny Golladay is going to be the big difference in this game, but Tampa Bay, I just like what they've got across the board a little bit more. Outside of that secondary, they got a solid team. I like Devin White a lot. Mike Evans is hurt, though. This one's going to be tough. Give me Tampa. I can't pick Detroit. They've been on an 8-game slide. Can't do it. Denver at Kansas City. This one should be pretty easy. I think Brandon Allen's going to make this one interesting, but it's in Kansas City. Big game, big Sunday. Give me Kansas City. They're going to keep on rolling. Chicago at Green Bay. Chilly Green Bay versus a chilly team in Chicago. I like Aaron Rodgers at home. Chicago, I don't expect them to do a lot on offense. Like I said, sit Allen Robinson, sit Devontae or Devin Montgomery, whatever his name is, the running backs for Chicago. Give me Green Bay at home. Miami at the New York Giants. The Giants are going to get Daniel Jones back, I believe. Saquon Barkley has been all right, but Evan Ingram's kind of out. I don't know how much faith I have in this Giants team. Miami doesn't give me a lot of faith, but I think I'm going to change my pick. I was going to pick the Giants. I think I'm going to take Miami on this one. Miami's playing a little bit more inspired football. They're upset about that pass interference call last week, so give me Miami. In New York, I know it's going to be cold up there, but something about Ryan Fitzmagic about this time of the year, I think it's going to start showing. The Santa beard does something for me. Carolina at Seattle. This one's not going to be close. People have figured out Kyle Allen. There's a shift in the head coaching. So give me Seattle in Seattle. They're going to run all over them. Houston at Tennessee. I think Tennessee could actually pull a win here. This is going to be a contentious division. Tennessee's going to have a lot to say about it. They're going to be in Tennessee. What better way to, keep yourself in this playoff race than by keep on winning? Give me the Tennessee Titans. Philadelphia at Washington. Washington's bad. Philly has shown me that they're bad, but they're not as bad as the Redskins. Give me Philadelphia. New England at Cincinnati. New England's going to be coming in very, very mad. So give me New England at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's just not going to be ready for it. Cleveland at Arizona. Cleveland looks dysfunctional, so give me Arizona. Minnesota at the LA Chargers. Minnesota's just a better team across the board. LA looks dysfunctional. Give me Minnesota. Jacksonville at Oakland. Give me Oakland. Jacksonville has some good weapons, but I don't know if they're going to do enough. Let's see. Atlanta at San Fran. Easy. San Fran. LA Rams at Dallas. Give me the Rams. Dallas has looked inconsistent. The Rams look like they're hitting their stride late, trying to make a playoff push. Give me the Rams. Sunday Night Football. Buffalo at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh needs to keep winning, but I don't think they're going to do it against Buffalo in that defense. Give me Buffalo Bills. And Monday Night Football. Indianapolis at New Orleans. This one's going to be a good scoring matchup, but I think New Orleans just overall is a better squad. I'm not going to think too hard about this. Give me New Orleans. And that's the show. That's the show for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, get the bell on. Feel free to comment. I love interacting with you guys. Find all the social medias right here in the description box. You heard it here first. This is your football preview weekend right here, the Rines Report. I'm your host, Tristan Blake Rines. Adios.